I have a video clip that I want to show you that I think is evident of the most horrid side of critical race theory. I'll introduce the clip real quick. You may have known there's a movie that just came out, In the Heights. It is a Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is the same person who wrote Hamilton, musical. It actually came out years ago on Broadway. I was actually very fortunate enough to go and see it at one point while I was traveling in Boston. Really, really cool show. I was pretty young, I'll admit. I don't remember it too much, but beside the point. In the Heights is about a Hispanic community in Washington Heights and their struggles. It very much similar to kind of Hamilton. It's showing you a side that, and showing white America a side that they don't typically see, which I think is powerful, and I love Lin-Manuel Miranda for doing things like Hamilton in this, because it is powerful. But this clip right here is, wow. Just, that's all I can say. Let's watch it.
Congratulations on In the Heights. It was a lovely musical. But as a Black woman of Cuban descent, specifically from New York City, it would be remiss of me to not acknowledge the fact that most of your principal actors were light-skinned or white-passing Latinx people. So with that, what are your thoughts on the lack of Black Latinx people represented in your film?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was something we talked about, and I needed to be educated about, of course. In the end, when we were looking at the cast, we tried to get the people who were best for those roles, and that specifically, and we saw a lot of people like Daphne or Dasha. But I hear you on, trying to fill those cast members with darker skin.
Okay. The clip goes on. It was from The Root, but this is a movie that just came out starring, I'm pretty sure, an entire Latino, I will not say Latinx cast, because I do not like those terms. I think Latinx, I mean, you look at the actual percentage of Latin people, or Latino people, who enjoy the term, it's like 3%. It's typically white college liberals who say they like the term. So I will not use a Latinx. But, this woman can't even watch a movie that stars all these Latin people without having to bring in her critical race theory. It can't be good enough. It can't be wow, good, I mean, I guess she did say good job, but it's gotta be the first question she's asking this guy is, so why didn't you have people with darker skin? Were you trying to, have white passing people to be in this movie? It's just and then you kind of see him, personally, maybe I'm reading a bit much into it, but it looks like he's uncomfortable. He's God, he's kind of shaking his head. He's really, this is the question? And then, of course, he does the classic, what, it's a really important question. You know what, it's something I should think about. And then in the very end, he's maybe we should be thinking about people, putting people in with darker skin. And just and see, at the very end, that's what it's about. Now, I've heard it before, and it's always tough, because when me, a white 23-year-old male, straight male, talks about critical race theory or critical theory and wokeness, I'm coming from the ultimate position of power, because apparently, just by nature, me being a broke 23-year-old, I am somehow, because I'm white, I'm it doesn't make any sense. That's why I don't believe in the ideology. But, it's about bringing people in with darker skin. It's not that anyone, I think, cares, but these people will not be satisfied until apparently just whiteness doesn't exist in movies or anywhere. You can't. Maybe if there was more people of darker skin, from all I've seen in the past years, it doesn't seem like whatever you do will ever make things good for people. It will always be a sliding scale. If this is where we're at, right now, and then in 5 years, this is the new kind of we must meet this standard. Well, the critical theorists are now over here. They're literally off the camera. They change the standard that they want endlessly until it gets them more and more power. And that's why you can't give an inch to these people. If you give them an inch, they will take the entire freaking yard. I mean, mile. I can't even think of a stupid analogy. I was putting it like this to my friend the other day. I was explaining what I think is going on and why I really care about all this stuff, because I think we are basically in an ideological war. You've heard it as the culture war. Some people think it's literally a civil war, but it's some sort of ideological war, very much so on the internet, where we're basically fighting for what the future and the ideas that will be America are. That's what we're fighting for. And so, now, if this is kind of trench warfare, we're in World War I. Back in trench warfare, if you don't know, they literally would send thousands of people, just wave after wave of men. And yes, men, because there weren't many women fighting in World War I or World War II. But back in those days when these men were storming, pushing forward, they were getting mowed down by machine guns on the other side. And it would just be, you're fighting for a couple feet of trench, maybe a few meters, if that. It was laughable how little movement you would actually have, yet you were sending thousands of people to their death. Now, we're not sending people to their death in this idea of a warfare, but basically what's going on right now, because no one's dying, well, it doesn't have that same visceral reaction of war. So, what's happening is the left and the right, if those are the two kind of sides of the trench, we're warring and we're battling for inches. Well, the left will make some claim, and if the right gives up a little, like say they're like, alright, retreat, we'll give up 10 feet. Well, suddenly, they're a mile. They're way past your lines, and you're like, excuse me, like, we said we were going to give you a few feet. What? Now, that being said, there's free speech. People have the right to have thoughts and opinions, and I don't want anyone ever getting hurt because they have a thought and opinion. We are all human, and somehow we need to figure out that that is the unifying thing here, is that, yo, I'm a person, you're a person, not even male and female, just we are humans. We both eat, poop, breathe air, like doing things, not even the same things, but we just like existing. Maybe the best thing to do is try to figure out, kind of like I talked about earlier with having authority, but also making sure that we're not overstepping bounds. Like, that's where we need to get to. But the left is basically saying any sort of authority at all, ever, is whiteness and racist and white supremacist, the patriarchy, it's misogynistic, it's all the above words. And then, frankly, yeah, I also see right now, we have a lot of corporate authority and federal authority, and they, like the left, is like, it's a fascist state, especially when Trump was in office. And I don't agree. I don't think we're in a fascist state, but I also completely understand why my generation is out there rioting and looting and burning things down and really, really upset because we've been screwed over and we don't even see a way out now. So what are we going to do? We're going to rally together. But the problem is some people are these authoritarians. They're rallying together, and although they seem empathetic and they're fighting for Black Lives Matter and trans rights and Palestinian rights and all these things, it's I'm right, and if you disagree with me, you're a bigot. And that's the problem. Frankly, it's moral authoritarianism. People love to always say that it was on the right. And yes, it used to be the Christian conservatives who were super moral authoritarian. You better be Christian conservative, otherwise you're wrong. Well, now it's the woke that are that level of authoritarian. But the problem is, I mean, if you watch the rising escalation of rhetoric, people are literally saying, I'm fantasizing about shooting a white person, not me, but a psychiatrist who spoke at Yale said she fantasized about shooting a white person in the face. Like, you look at the actual rhetoric, and it is getting more and more genocidal and warlike and scary. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, in a year we're gonna all die. No, absolutely not. And if there is any country with the founding ideals to fight these ideas, it would be America in this free liberal society. But we're watching that erode, and that is why it is more important than ever to seriously get your crap together. Start really paying attention to what's going on. Start fighting these, frankly, incredibly racist laws, and do something about it. I'm going to show you some more crazy crap. Look at these two things. Apparently, nature and birds are racist. In Michigan, making the outdoors more accessible to people of color. Black and brown people from urban areas face many barriers to outdoor recreation. Here's how one group overcame them on Lake Superior. You know what? I get it. A lot more, unfortunately, a higher percentage of the African American population tends to be in, say, an inner city and less access to, say, Lake Michigan, these big outdoor parks in a suburb. But, like, I mean, it's not a race thing. Anyone who's in the inner city or just the city in general has a hard time having access to nature. Like, it's not a thing of race, but yet you have to make it National Geographic. Again, I understand the idea that more people of color are maybe in positions where they have less access, but it has nothing to do with the color of the person's skin that is giving them less access to nature. It's just the class, the impoverished state. And that's why we need to be fighting class warfare and fighting based on class, economic class, not racial class. The Washington Post, National Weekly. The racist legacy many birds carry. Birders grapple with complicated past linked to slavery, white supremacy. Okay, they were just basically saying that birds' names are apparently racist because of their history. I get it. It's the same thinking of kind of like these statues of Confederate soldiers, which were literally put up because the North was like, you know what, we want to make amends, we get it. Rather than basically say, we won and we are always going to be right, we're like, we'll put up some statues. You guys can have some stuff too. We'd rather have peace than endless bickering and arguments. And so they put up some statues. You can say they were racist statues. But this is a bird. Literally, like, this is when I say critical race theory has gone too far, because what freaking person in the world is like, oh, I think it's a Jefferson's bird, is the bird on the thing that, like, who hears that and is like, oh my god, I'm so held back in society, the bird's named Jefferson's bird. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Now, of course, the left will just go, but if we just rename the bird, no one's hurt, and the bird has a new name. But it's setting the precedent that we just get to rewrite history. What matters? Because something in the future will offend someone no matter what. And so if you always want to just change things and change words and change terminology, well then they don't even have meaning anymore. And if words don't have meaning, well then frankly, you don't have a society. You just get to do whatever you want, because at any point anything can mean anything. I know it sounds crazy, but we are at the point now where a man can be woman and a woman can be a man. And you're apparently not allowed to question it. Now, I'm not going to even get into that argument right now, but it just is something a little bit interesting. Getting away from the crazy, stupid stuff about, oh, look at this, a racist. Let's actually get into a little bit more of real critical race theory. This is talking about a black body acknowledgement. So, what is it? A black body acknowledgement is an individual and personalized public statement offered by an individual speaker to 1. Personally recognize the systemic oppression of black people in daily life. 2. Personally commit to use their individual platform to intervene in that unjust of oppression. And 3. Personally call upon others, especially the immediate audience, to join in the active effort to root out anti-black sentiment and racisms. So basically they're saying, all right, you want to be a public speaker? Well, you have to start your speech with a black body acknowledgement, saying that you are a racist. Ask the audience, please also come with me and make sure we stop all the racism. And use your personal platform. So basically, you don't get to do what you want, but you must use your personal platform to intervene in that injustice. Even if it has nothing, you could be talking about Hello Kitty, and they'll be like, all right, where's your black body acknowledgement statement? It is a dogma. It is a religion. Again, the left will be like, this is just a statement we want people to say that says we're acknowledging the systemic oppression of black people. Now, I would argue, if someone said, would you please make your black body acknowledgement statement, I'd say, I'm sorry, I will refuse to acknowledge the systematic oppression. Actually, no, I will not refuse. I acknowledge that in the past, there was in the law systemic oppression of black people based on race. Nowadays, though, I personally believe that the systemic oppression that we most see in American society is to do with class and economic class, and that low-income people face many challenges, not on race, but on the opportunities that they don't have compared to people who are upper middle class, or the actual elite of the elite. That's what I would say, because I disagree with the idea that there's this overwhelming idea of oppression that's holding everyone in the country back besides white men. I just don't believe in that statement. Maybe I'm just a white man. I'm trying to do my thing. I'm trying to work hard right now and create something. If you like it, give it a like. I haven't said that yet, but do whatever you want. Do what you want to do. Create your things. But if someone asks you to do a black body acknowledgement statement, comment. Let me know what you would actually do. Because these are the kinds of things that are coming into society, and if you don't want to give one, you really should be thinking about this now, because you don't want to get to the point where you go up to speak at, say, you could be at college, and it's alright. We're all going to be doing our individual presentations today. Okay, Bailey, would you come up and give you a black body acknowledgement statement? If you go, what? Like, excuse me, what's that? They're going to be like, oh, you don't know? Like, that's where we're getting to. That's all I want to make aware to people. Now, what actually happens, though, when all this critical race theory bubbles over, and what's the end result? Police retirement has soared 45% since BLM protests erupted, and the Atlanta homicides have surged another 60%, up from historic high in 2020 after 200 cops quit. Cops quitting. Who knew when there's mass protests, cops are being called all these names, they can't do their jobs because they arrest people and they get bailed out or just get released by the charges dropped by these DAs. When you can't do anything at all to stop the crime. Again, when authority isn't allowed to be authority anymore. They're not allowed to stop the things that at one point were crime. Yeah, just quit. Why wouldn't you? Why would you stay when, one, you're not basically doing your job is pointless, and two, you're risking everything? Because you could get into that very, very unfortunate scenario where maybe you have to fire your gun or stop a crime, and we've seen it. We've seen someone stop a woman from stabbing another woman, and now he, I believe, is fired, but like, it becomes a whole national story where he was in the wrong for apparently shooting the woman. He was stopping someone else from getting hurt, stopping a violent attack, but apparently that is wrong. And then, if you're a cop and you mock LeBron James for saying, I'm sorry, LeBron James, I didn't realize I should listen to you because you're a great player at basketball. I didn't know you knew how to cop. Like, you get fired as well? Like, we need to recognize that cops need some authority to do things. Otherwise, we're just going to have no cops, and then we will truly have unrest. Now, in my opinion, the whole defund of the police thing, if liberal cities wanted to do it, I don't even care anymore. Let these cities ban everything, ban guns, defund the police, and just watch what happens to your city. The people who need to get out will get out. I get some people might not have the opportunity to get out. It's a little bit harder to just get up and leave, and it, honestly, especially with BlackRock buying all the houses, like, where do you go if there's no houses to buy anymore? And inflation rising and all the problems coming. But the problem is Biden and his federal administration don't want to just put these laws to cities. They want to ban guns everywhere. And they want the laws that cities maybe would actually work. Maybe cities would be better if they just banned guns and all this stuff and cops left. But I don't think rural places would be better. And that's why you can't just do these overarching defund the police and ban guns across these, like, everywhere in the United States. Maybe cities again. Maybe cities. I could be okay with it. At the very least, your city will burn and I will be A-okay. I don't want any city to burn, but maybe that's what people need to see to realize that it's a bad idea. Maybe they need to see Portland, New York, San Francisco, LA, Boston, all these cities start crumbling because they've introduced these awful, awful policies. Then maybe people will realize, I've made the wrong decisions for 20 years of my life. Finally, I'm going to end this entire podcast and video with this right here. Hispanic Americans are curious about QAnon too, and tech companies have not yet worked out how to counter misinformation in Spanish. Who knew that Hispanic Americans, oftentimes coming from places like Cuba and Venezuela, in these socialist states, don't like socialism? They'd rather QAnon, the complete opposite of BlueAnon, and the complete opposite of the crazy woke left. Because, maybe the woke, crazy, socialist, radical, I mean, some of them are authoritarian, communist, whatever it is, it's hard to define what woke is, but it's certainly not free capitalist and American values. The things that brought these immigrants here, woke is not that. These immigrants would rather QAnon than woke. Now, I'm sure not all of them. I'm sure some would rather be woke than follow QAnon, and QAnon is crazy and wrong. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's correct. But I pointed out to show you that, one, CRT is wrong, Latinx is not the correct term, and two, Hispanic Americans, like, you would think, wouldn't they be following CRT? If it's apparently good for them, they're trying to fight for marginalized people. No, they're following QAnon. And then finally, I'll end with this. Tech companies have not yet worked out how to counter misinformation in Spanish. Oh, tech companies, when did you decide that you are the arbiters of truth? If you enjoyed my commentary in this clip, please, please, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, anything you can do to help me grow this channel. I really, really, really want it to grow. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm going to be uploading a new one of these Monday through Friday around 6 p.m. every single day. Clips coming out the day after. Thank you so much. Enjoy, and I'll see you later.